Welcome back to Daddy Knows Best. I'm your host, Bryson Banks. Today, we have a great episode with a man by the name of Johnny Hinds. He's a strength and condition coach, and he has an incredible life story, which we talk about on the episode. He used to be the strength coach for the LA Clippers. He is the epitome of somebody who has just taken what life has given him and made the absolute best of it. I was literally motivated just talking with the guy, and such an incredible human being. It was my first time meeting him, and I met him through another friend of mine, Mike Byer, who's a life coach, and linked us up, and I'm very grateful. It's one of my favorite episodes I shot so far, and yeah, I'm stoked for you guys to check it out. This week, this Thursday, I'm at the Hollywood Improv for my Simper Funny show. It's gonna be sick. Then I'm back in San Diego on the 6th, and I'll have a bunch of shows lined up in January. I'm excited for this next year. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and subscribe to Daddy Knows Best. Daddy Knows Best, bitch.
I like the Barbie paper wrap.
Yeah, my girlfriend's.
You picked that out?
Yeah, my girlfriend loves pink and Barbie and shit, so I make her happy. She loves that. I went and watched the fucking movie with her.
You went to the movie?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like it. Was it fun at least?
I liked. Have you seen it?
No.
There's one part I liked.
It looks like it will probably be fun, even though it looks so ridiculous.
Yeah, so there was a cool part when Ken all of a sudden has a guitar and he starts singing to the girl, and then on the beach there's 40 other Kens with a guitar singing the same song, and it's kind of like making fun of the dude at the party with the guitar.
Oh yeah.
Which was hilarious. Other than that, it was really geared towards women.
Young woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's a young woman, but I don't know. It was what it was.
What are you, like 25?
Me?
30?
I wish. I'm 35.
35.
She's 24 though.
That's right. That's nice.
Yeah.
Nation of Islam, half plus 7.
Half plus 7.
So 17 and a half plus 7, 24 and a half years old.
That's the lowest I'm supposed to go.
No, that's the age, because we're immature. Women are generally more mature, so men should date or marry women that are half plus 7 our age.
I like that.
Yeah.
So I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Perfect. Smart.
Hell yeah. Yeah, man. The Nation of Islam. That's
Yeah.
one thing I guess they have figured out.
You figured it out?
No, I guess that's one thing they have figured out.
Yeah, that was right out.
Where are you from originally, Johnny? Wisconsin.
I'm from Madison, Wisconsin.
So you're a big cheese guy.
Oop. Oh, there you go. That's fine. No, I don't. I'm not a big cheese guy.
No? Yeah, man. So were huge into jiu-jitsu, black belt, and now you're doing movement and mindset, or you've been doing that for a long time?
Yeah, I've been a strength coach since I was 15, so I've been 45 years. I've been a strength coach.
Yeah.
I actually started when I was a teenager coaching the UW women, University of Wisconsin women's basketball team on how to do jump training.
Really?
Yeah.
Jump training.
Yeah.
Like how to jump higher and stuff, like a knees over toes guy?
I was doing
The same.
almost every exercise he does when I was a little boy, because backpedaling against tubing, up hills, I've been doing that since I was little.
Damn.
I've been doing progressive jump training, and that's one of my things I'm super, super good at, is teaching people how to jump really, really high. I can hit my head on the rim at a 47-inch vertical.
What? You think I could teach me how to dunk it?
And if you can come close to the rim right now,
I can touch
positive.
the rim.
Oh yeah, I can get you dunking.
I'm 5'9", and I got hops.
I
for a little
first
guy.
dunked when I was 5'10", and
When you were 5'10", and then you got taller.
I'm just about 6'2" now.
Wow.
But
So
I
you were a
could hit
kid.
my head on the rim when I was 6 feet tall.
Wow.
So yeah, I've been coaching jumping for a long time, and my average over 10 to 12 weeks is about 10 to 12 inch improvement.
Damn.
Which is crazy.
That's big.
Yeah, but I
I
teach the
wish I could get
technique
that
on.
in other areas of my life too, you know?
Yeah, you get that improvement in other areas of your life.
12
You
inch
wouldn't be sitting
improvement.
here. Fuck this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going
I feel like
to
my
the movies.
I feel like my credit score would go down automatically.
Yeah. But your credit in other areas would raise
Yeah, yeah.
dramatically.
Oh yeah, dude, just swinging along the hog
Yeah,
leg.
yeah, yeah.
Oh shit, that's awesome, dude. So now has it evolved into something else, or is it still mostly like
Oh
jump
yeah.
training?
No, no. I was a strength coach for the Clippers a long time ago.
You were,
Yeah,
dude.
and
So you probably read Relentless then.
Relentless.
It's a book. He was like
Who?
Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan's coach.
Oh no, I've
No,
never read that. I know who he was way back in the day, and I was a strength coach back in the day as well. Because he was working with Jordan though, and he was really big in Chicago. He had a ton of athletes. He had a nice facility. He was pretty fucking awesome.
yeah.
As far as what he was doing in Chicago. And I felt really confident with my lineup of athletes out here in LA. I had a sick lineup. I mean,
Yeah, dude, that's
Sean
huge.
Kemp.
Clippers.
I was training Sean Kemp when he was 19, 20.
Wow.
Anthony Hardaway,
How old were you
25.
when you were doing that?
Yeah.
How sick is that?
Oh, it was so sick because I got to practice with the team because my game was pretty good and I could jump out the gym, and I got to do some runs, with them and stuff because I was a good enough ball player. But the interesting path that it took is that growing up, my dad, he was the guy that invented the beaded jump rope. Plastic.
Really?
Yeah.
He invented that?
He invented it, and he made it with a program. So then he invented that in 1973, Bobby Hinds. And
Wow.
in 76, he made this resistance tubing workout gym called the Deluxe Gym. And a lot of athletes would use those tools, like most ball players would jump rope. A lot of them would do the resistance tubing because you could work out while you're traveling really great. And so what I did, I would look at Olympic athletes who were speed skating or doing jump training. And so I would tie it to my waist, do sprints, tie it to my waist, do jumps of all type. And it started working really well. My verticals went from like 25, and it just kept growing until I made my own product called the Power Jumper. And that's about the time I had not.
How old were you when you made that?
That was 97. So I was 34.
Man.
Okay, but
that's impressive.
I was moving back to Madison at that time because I had done the strength coach scene out here. But one of the reasons I moved back, because we were talking about it earlier, sometimes in life you just hit a point with it, you're like, I'm bored by this.
Yeah.
It's not exciting me. And I was training a lot of celebrities, and I was training a lot of athletes, and it was just, I wasn't feeling it. And I had some inventions, but part of it was I blew my left knee out doing one-legged plyo jumps, which is
Not good.
ridiculously not smart.
Yeah. What's a plyo jump? Is it like a one-legged
So
squat
you know
with a
what
jump at the
box
end?
jumps?
Yeah.
That's a plyometric jump.
Okay.
When you on a box, you jump off and you quickly jump back onto the box. That's a plyometric jump. And I would do all types of that, but I was doing them with a guy named Winston Garland, whose son now plays on the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Wow.
And I was doing it one-legged. He was doing it two-legged. I was doing it one-legged because I wanted to try and jump even higher. And I heard this loud pop, and
Oof.
I knew I had torn my left knee up. And I did. And so I hobbled around LA because I didn't have insurance. So I hobbled around LA for a couple of years.
Oof.
And
Couple years with a blown out knee.
yeah,
Man.
it was pretty bad.
What
My
was
back
wrong with
pain,
it?
I didn't tear my ACL fully. I strained it. I tore my meniscus, and I 85% through tore my patella tendon.
Wow.
So my thigh almost would have balled up on my leg. And
How were you still able to do your coaching? Sorry if I cut you off. Did I cut you off there?
yeah, but I'll let
Sorry.
that slide. You're a blue belt. It's okay. You can coach. I mean, you can coach hobbling around, and I figured out how to move around and stuff like that. It's actually I mean, I always look at every resistance in life, every struggle brings strength if you look at it in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I like that. You said that earlier, and that really
yeah,
resonated with me because,
no struggle, no strength.
yeah, and it's in a lot of books too.
Yeah,
Like Outliers, he talks about like the near miss, where like these catastrophes like can strengthen you if they don't hit you too hard. Whereas
right.
like if it, like there's a gray area where he talks about like if you're in a war and it hits the house next door, like that strengthens you versus like it hits your house and kills
Kills,
like your whole family and you're the only one
right,
surviving, that might cripple you. So it's like this perfect amount of suffering or struggling.
right on. Because there's a second part to it. No struggle, no strength. But whatever doesn't break you can make you. But you got to be in the right circumstance. Otherwise, I mean, people just beat you every day of your life, and you completely implode and break.
Yeah.
Versus people might beat you, but you choose to rise. You build yourself up. You get a stronger mindset, and you persevere. You create so much momentum that you become dominant. You become powerful. Things like that. So that's what I try and look at, all rough predicaments in my life and other people's lives that I coach now. So back then, I blow my knee out. I learned because of that, when I went back home, I met this guy who taught me movement to restore my knee and my back.
Hmm.
That was a blessing.
How did you find the guy?
I was trying to work out at the University of Wisconsin weight room. My friend was the head strength coach there when I moved back home to Madison, and he saw me hobbling around. And you got to understand, at the time, I was instructor for the National Academy of Sports Medicine, so I would go all over the world and I would lecture on functional stability training. I was also an NBA strength coach. I had Woody Harrelson, Steve Goodberg. I had a
Wow.
crazy celebrity lineup, and then I had a crazy athlete lineup. All these all-stars from baseball and every sport. I was killing it. So my ego was out of control. I mean, I really thought I was the shit. And when I blew my knee out, I still had a serious arrogance. And
Mm.
I go back to Madison, and my friend, the head strength coach, he was like, "John, go see my friend Roger." I was like, "No, I'm good," because I was cocky and I thought, "Yeah, I can fix. I'm figuring it out."
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was a moron. I was an idiot looking at it. But he wouldn't relent. And he said, "Dude, if you don't go see my friend Roger, I'm not going to let you come in the gym anymore." Because he would
Mm.
see me hobbling and trying to do everything, and it was ridiculous. And I said, all right, I'll go see your friend. So he sets it up. I go meet Roger. Roger's this old, crusty-looking dude with one eye.
No, he really has one eye.
He had one eye. He passed. He
Oh
had
man.
one eye, and built oddly very similar to me. He played football and he wrestled when he was
Okay.
younger.
Did you
Same
do those?
height. No, but I did jiu-jitsu. So, and I played ball, and he played basketball, football, and he wrestled. And I played basketball, football, and then I did jiu-jitsu later on. So I thought, oh, this is weird. But then when he starts talking to me, within about 30 seconds, I realized I don't know shit. This guy blew my mind. It was one of those cases in life where you're talking to somebody, and as they're talking, you're like, oh my God,
Wow.
I don't know anything he's talking about. He completely fucked my head up
Where did he get
in
all
a
this
great
knowledge
way.
from?
Well, in yoga, there's a couple yogis that are world renowned. One is BKS Iyengar.
Hmm.
Iyengar is world famous. He passed away a few years ago. Roger went and studied with him after he got done. He played football, basketball, and then he started coaching it, but he got injured. And he went to India to train with this guy.
Wow.
16 years he went every summer for 3 months.
Wow.
And
That's some dedication.
it's intense, right? And so I met him, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Oh yeah, it's obvious." And I was like, "What's obvious?" And I start. I'm curious, and he goes, "Get in a lunge position. Put your back foot down on the ground, and start pushing your heel back. Start driving your right knee into my hand. Get tall, get tall." He starts cueing me on how to do this front warrior position.
Ah.
And now the way that he does yoga and how he did yoga is way different than a traditional yoga class. A traditional yoga class, get in the pose, breathe in, get out of the pose, breathe out, move to the next pose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all good, I think, for a lot of people, but we have so many injuries in life. I think we need to spend a little bit more time on activating the weak link of the body.
Mm.
So I always like to, what I learned from Roger, stay in the pose a little bit more. Try and find that weak link in the movement, which is going to show up through an imbalance and misalignment, and then get that motherfucker to engage.
Mm.
And when you get that to engage, you're going to create a release in the body that feels like, oh God, like lightness. And when you
Yeah.
stand out of the pose, you're going to feel really light. And he had me do front warrior. He resisted my shin forward, my front leg. Then he'd resist my spine and extension just a little bit. He'd tap me like to get me to be taller, activate my back leg. So when you do any yoga pose, pretty much you want your extensors engaged and to wake up. And when I came out of that pose, I felt the most relief I had had in 4 years by about 80%.
Wow.
And that took 30 seconds.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was mind blowing. And I felt like the Karate Kid, and he was Mr. Miyagi.
Wax
Not that
on,
I
wax
felt,
off.
Yeah, it was a mind blowing.
You said extensors. Is that a type of muscle group in your body?
Yeah, so I'm going to go simplistic here. I have a friend of mine. He's a straight up roughneck from rough neighborhoods, but he's one of those dudes that you see him, he got the long arms, he sort of walks with a swagger, and he's
Confident.
fucking jacked, and you're like, what the fuck? And they just look crazy, like super yoked and stuff.
Yeah.
And his name was Hustle. Growing up with this dude, his nickname was Hustle. And so one day I was like, Hustle, man, what do you do for your training? He goes, man, John, sometimes I works the fronts and sometimes I works the backs. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, like the fronts, the push-ups and stuff like that, and sit-ups, and maybe I run a hill. I feel those front side muscles. And then the back side, I'll be doing some chin-ups and doing exercises like making the back of my legs work and stuff. He goes, that's a backside.
So he would just do two separate, just front and back.
I don't know what his specific routine was, but
That's hilarious.
It's so simple. He worked the front side, which is basically flexion of the body, and your back side is basically extension of the body. So most people live in flexion, and as we age, we start to fall into flexion more and more. That's where then, with more and more injuries, that's where our body, mind, and spirit starts to lose range of motion. When people go, oh, I can't do that because, I don't know about that. That looks a little too intense.
Yeah.
That's a loss of range of motion of the mind. Physically, they can't touch their toes. Loss of range of motion of the body. Then it creates to the mind and it fucks up your spirit as well.
Yeah.
So this feeds back into, my whole thing is, don't feed that.
Yeah.
Feed, open up, wake up that backside, open up the arms, the legs, the hips, everything to expand the range of the body. Keep it full, and then you're going to have more range in the mind and the spirit as well.
Yeah.
Then you live a longer time.
Yeah. Also, for the listeners, Johnny is 60 years old, which we were talking about earlier, which is incredible because you look like you're, I don't know, max
You
late
better
40s.
guess well. Best, there you go.
You better guess well.
If you would
Like
said,
59.
You look like you're 59 and a half. I swear to God, folks. He looks freaking way younger than, like 6 months younger. Yeah, thanks.
Jiu-jitsu's back engaged.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And so now you pretty much teach something similar to this to people.
Yeah, I lecture on it. I love speaking on it because I think people need a wake-up call because we are all feeding the bad wolf. The Native American story about feeding a good wolf and a bad wolf. Feeding weak mindset, weak physical body, you start to fall into that flexed position, and then you just reinforce weakness, and then you get around people like that, and you keep reinforcing and feeding the bad wolf, versus surround yourself with strong people, strive to open up your range of motion physically, mentally, spiritually, constantly, and surround yourself with awesome people like that. And you can't help but resonate more towards that.
Yeah.
And Einstein said something like that, like basically, we all resonate at a certain level, but if your mind and your body and your spirit resonates at a different level, one that is where you really want to live and thrive at, you can't help but be at that level.
Yeah.
It's not a philosophy, it's a science.
Yeah.
And it's so true.
Yeah.
Why would you get old if you have a mindset and you're free to do any physical movement that you want, and your mindset is not fearful of doing any movement that you want? Then your spirit's going to be like confident as hell.
Yeah.
So why would you age?
Yeah,
You
man.
won't.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you have that. You embody that. So
That's what I love.
I'm motivated just sitting here having this conversation with you.
Oh,
And I was
thank you.
thinking while you were talking, I was like, oh, none of my comedian guests had me all riled up like this. You know, we we were laughing or whatever, but like it's motivating to hear that, man, because I also implement a lot of those values of like
Yeah.
surrounding myself with, because like when I was younger, I surrounded myself with losers, and that's why I was
Yeah.
getting in a lot of trouble. And like I didn't listen to my parents of the birds of a feather flock together. I thought I had it all figured out, you know? And now like, dude, I don't do anything except comedy, jiu-jitsu, my girlfriend, and then I have like a core group of good friends that have good values that I spend my free time with, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. And
Right on.
I feel like, yeah, I resonate a lot with what you're saying.
I have to say something else that I love what you do is you guys can't see it here, but he has a really great collection of strong mindset books, which I went through a period in my life one time I had 7 people close to me killed.
Oh man, I'm sorry
And
to hear that. Also, sorry about your friend too. I didn't get a chance to say that. The one that showed you all the movement stuff and the yoga stuff. It sounded like
Yeah,
you guys were
Roger.
pretty close.
Roger was my mentor, 110%. And all this happened during about a 1.5 year span where it was a living hell. And when people say heart wrenching, it literally felt like somebody's ripping my heart out of my chest. And my family, growing up, my family, we were not, nobody gave a fuck. And my parents drank, my older brother and sister did drugs. And so I was left to my own devices most of the time. And doing that, you don't get a good, you know, if you're on your own, it could be really a lonely life. But what I did, and I have many stories about this when I speak, is I was fortunate enough and smart enough at a young age to understand if I want to be like that, I have to talk to that person. I have to learn it from that person. So I sought out mentors all the time because my dad was never around. So I sought out dudes that were strong, dudes that had confidence, and most of them were roughnecks. But so, you know, they liked me like a little man. You know, they'd always look out for me and they'd always try and pull me up and coach me on how to be a stronger man. And all of these lessons, like if you don't have it, like when all this stuff happened in my life, I didn't have any family. But what I did that was cool was I did what you have here is I was fucked up when all these people died, and my brother was shot and killed by the cops. Not my blood brother, but a brother from another mother. And he and I were like two peas in a pod, and he was shot and killed by the cops. And
I'm sorry.
when
man.
all of this happened, thank you. When all this happened, my family told me we didn't like him anyways, and nobody gave a fuck. And so I expected that. So I realized, okay, I don't have anybody to talk to. And my adrenal fatigue kicked, I had complete adrenal exhaustion, producing 0 testosterone. I still have to teach. I had my gyms open at this time, so I still had to teach like 40 classes a week.
Man.
So how are you going to do that? You got nobody to talk to. So I decided, well, I got books. I got books with knowledge from some great people.
Mm-hmm.
So I surrounded myself with them. Celestine Prophecies, Way of the Peaceful Warrior, Conversations with God,
I'm gonna
Buddhism,
write down
Zen.
a couple of these actually.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic books. Like
I've heard of The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, and I don't have it on my list yet.
I've gifted dozens of that book away. That book's powerful. The Celestine Prophecies is an awesome book talking about energy and how
Celestine prophecies.
the Celestine prophecies. That's right there with The Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
Okay.
And then the other ones were more like religious flavored books, like Conversations with God, Buddhism books, Zen Buddhism books, Alan Watts, Bruce
Love
Lee.
Alan Watts.
Alan Watts
He's
is the
my
bomb.
favorite
Yeah,
philosopher. He's like very pantheist. Like everyone and
yeah,
everything's a manifestation of God. And
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Conversations with God. You said was the other one. I got.
yeah. So the reason I went to these is because, like I said, I didn't have anybody to rely on. And so my doctor said, John, you're pretty bad off right now. My blood work said, the guy who read my blood work said, is this a heroin addict? And he goes,
From all the stress and stuff.
yeah, I was overwhelmed and I completely imploded. And my doctor goes, no, he's super healthy. And they go, he has to completely cease all movement. He can walk, but he can't do anything for the next 6 months. He has to just chill out.
Oh, you were doing
And
too much, and with the
I mean,
stress.
teaching all that, and then everybody dying, and
Yeah.
it was brutal. And
I'm sorry you
so,
went through that, man.
no, I'm not. I'm not. It was good. It made me stronger, made me
Yeah.
wiser. I love everybody way more because of that. I'm not sorry for anything I've gone through. I'm appreciative.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So I went through that stuff and it made me stronger. I read books like crazy. And the fact of moving re-expanded my range of my body and my mind and my spirit. That's a really, really important point. Like, we all struggle. Like, okay, I went through shit. So have you. So has everybody. Everybody has their shit they've gone through. What are you going to do about it? So what I preach is move. Get that body moving. Even my case there, all I could do was walk. I would walk for 3 or 4 hours a day and read books as I walked.
You would
That,
read as you walked?
yeah. I that's all I could do. I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna walk 3 to 4 hours. I teach 2 classes in the morning, one at afternoon, then I teach 3 or 4 at night. I got hours in between. I'm not working out anymore. I'm gonna walk. And I lived about a mile away from my gym, so I would walk back and forth from my gym like 3 or 4 times a day, and then I'd detour like crazy, and I would just destroy all these books of not great knowledge, but it was increasing my range of motion in my body because I was so small range after all that pain. I was crippled, but it reversed it, and it gave me hope that, okay, I feel like I'm getting back there. My spirit started to lift, my mind started to broaden, and then after 6 months I could go back in. I started my movement practice again, and then my confidence returned. but
Nice.
but the point is, everybody has this shit. Everybody goes through hell in their own way. But the difference between people who succeed in life and those that don't are those that make a decision to rise rather than fall. And what I mean is, during times, I'm not saying don't cry. I'm not saying, you can't be devastated at all. You have to do that stuff, but
Yeah.
you have to make a decision to rise eventually. And so what I constantly told myself was, eagles don't fly in flocks. Eagles don't fly in flocks. Eagles don't fly. I would say that to myself every day because I didn't want to be mediocre in life. I want to be great. I want to be wise. I want to be strong. I want to be powerful, a loving man. And that's what I've always strived for. And that's when those moments in life hit, it's what decision do you make in that moment that shows your character. So I would keep telling myself that even when my brother was shot and killed, I was crushed. I was just crying on the floor in my condo by myself, no one. And then I went through that, and then I would just get up and I'd say, okay, he doesn't want you laying on the ground, and who do you want to be? You want to sit here and feel sorry for it because nobody else fucking cares,
Yeah.
right?
It's good that you let it out though too. I think that's important. But
Super
like,
important.
yeah, don't dwell in it. But like when it comes, let it out, and
Let
then
it out.
yeah, step up to the man. Yeah, I know it's different, but I lost my dog this year, And for me, like I lost grandparents and I've lost friends when in the military, but like nothing hit me as hard as losing my dog this year. I had him since he was
100%.
6 weeks old. My first month out of the Marine Corps, I got this dog, and he went everywhere with me. And like, man, I'll still like, it's getting less and less, but almost every week still, like it'll just hit me out of nowhere, and I'll just be like, "Ooh," you
How
know.
did he die?
I mean, he was almost 13 for a boxer,
Okay.
and he lived a damn good life, and
Yeah.
I find peace in knowing that I gave him such an awesome life. I mean, I also made him a service dog. He went to like college with me, flew
Oh, nice.
everywhere. Yeah, like he lived it up, like first class with me
That was your
sometimes.
baby.
Yeah, he was my baby, man. So
No,
different than
it's
put it in
pain.
pain, yeah, and letting it out was important, but like also fucking get back to moving, get back to like
Yeah.
he was kind of disabled towards the end too. He was in a wheelchair, so that took a lot more of my time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I have more time to put into the things that I was neglecting because I put so, and I don't regret that time at
Yeah.
all that I put into them, and I would do it a million times
Yeah.
again. But
100%.
yeah, man.
It's a good thing how much you can tell how much you loved him.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if this would help you, but this helps me. My dad died in March. My mom died in May. My sister killed herself in July this year.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry.
And all three, it was rough. I understand when you cry like that for your little baby, though. It's different. My parents were very old. They were not, when COVID hit, they weren't the same. It was their time.
Mm-hmm.
When I went through all seven people getting killed, that was brutal. But my lesson I learned during that time was all I can do is love them while I got them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they can give back. And then moving beyond that, I'll never let go of the memories I have with them. But I don't choose to sit and dwell in pity. I don't choose to sit and feel sorry for myself about any of those things. I loved my mom and dad. They had their stuff.
Of
They
course.
lived their lives. They lived their lives. I made my peace with them before they passed.
How did you do that? I'm sorry if I'm interrupting, but
You're not. You're not.
I've dealt with stuff with my parents, and I love them, and now we're really tight. But like, there was some conflicts
Right.
when I was younger, and I think I've let a lot of that go. But maybe there's still some resentment in there, and I want to make sure that it's not, because it's not.
Well,
They
look
were
at
doing
it.
their best, you know, with
Right.
the circumstances they had, and they had it much worse than I had it. So it was just like this trickle down
100%.
shit, you know.
100%. My dad was sexually abused by a priest when he was 7 and 8 and 9. He ran away from home when he was 10. Armed robbery at 10.
Wow.
Was in juvie up till high school. Then he moved in with an Italian family. He had a fucked up life. He had no clue how to be a dad. Told us multiple times he didn't want to be a dad. Left us multiple times. He was drunk my entire life. Beat my mom all the time. It was a fucked up household. No one wanted to be there. I still love him. But I take him for what he is. I knew what he was, and I knew he didn't want to be a dad, and he expressed that many times. He almost never, I mean, my whole life he came to one game I played. Never ever gave a fuck about what I was doing. Not school, never taught me anything except he would when he was drunk he would hit me, you know, and he'd go up, and he'd come up drunk and pop me in the face and go, "God, keep your arms up," and walk away. He did that almost every night of my life. I still love him. I don't hold grudge against him. When he passed, I was okay. He had lived a long life. He had lived a great life. He's fucking invented some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
His enthusiasm was off the charts. Did he know how to be a dad? No, that's not what he was here for.
Yeah.
But and
we're
people
not taught
go,
that really either.
No, and you're right. How the hell was he supposed to be taught how to be a dad when he barely survived life?
Yeah.
But he did it, and then he started he was just, I'm thankful to him that I'm here. Beyond that, gave me enthusiasm for stuff. And that's a huge gift. And a lot of times in life, what I see people is they'll bitch and moan about their parents because their parents weren't perfect, this ideal of perfect.
Yeah.
And my parents were far from perfect, but they did their best. The period. So, and I loved them for what, the fact that I'm here. I'm pretty fucking okay. Mentally, physically, spiritually, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was, and that's how I look at things. Like, I love them while I got them. And my mom and dad, they were in their 90s. They passed away. They had a long life.
That's incredible.
When they passed, I don't even know if I cried, because what I saw the last 2 years of their lives, they were no longer there. They had left the building.
Mm.
And so when I moved out here with my wife, I said goodbye to them, and I knew that was the last time I'd ever see them alive, and it was. That was in February, and my dad died a few weeks after that, and my mom 8 weeks after him. My sister killing herself. She was on drugs her whole life, fucked up. I mean, every one of us children that survived it, growing up in this violent household, rough household, she had a bad one. She was abused, bad, and went to drugs. No therapy. Like, and if you don't have, like, I was talking about having a mentor, having somebody that opens your eyes up to a better way of looking at life. So a therapist hopefully does that for you.
Yeah.
You know, and my sister, drugs since she was 13 years old. She did bad things her whole life. It was painful, and then she kills herself by drug overdosing intensely, and it was just, again, it was expected. It was very sad, and people like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's their life. It's their life. I loved them. I was the only person in our family that ever talked to her. No one in my family would even communicate with her because she was so fucking crazy.
Hmm.
And it's sort of maybe rough to talk like that, but I don't feel like it is. I loved her. She was a handful to talk to, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because she would say, you fucking piece of shit, 1 minute because you didn't text her back.
Hmm. Sounds like she was struggling with some mental illness,
Oh,
too.
without question.
Yeah.
She had mental illness. And so I look at things. I value time with people. I also know we all make our own choices.
Yeah.
So what I try and do is I try and influence people, make great choices, live, expand, and try to evolve as much as you possibly can. And with people, I don't fucking care if I hurt your feelings. I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to tell you if I love you. If you're fucking up, I'm going to tell you you're fucking up. And I'll be blunt with you, because when I went through all the 7 deaths that one short period of my life, I learned a quick lesson. Don't waste time on bullshit.
Mm.
And so many people fucking bullshit their way through life.
Yeah.
And you're just wasting time. If you fucking love somebody, tell them you love them. If you don't want to be with somebody, move on.
Yeah.
Tell them I don't want to be in this anymore, or you're my boy, or not. But fucking express yourself. Let them know where you stand. And many times it hurts them, and they get really mad, but then they come back.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell you, man, thanks. I needed a slap in the face there, a kick in the ass.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, I'm talking a lot about these pain points, but it's funny how I like to get things back to movement, and that's why jiu-jitsu, sport,
Love jiu-jitsu,
fitness is fucking awesome way for a person to get moving again, connect with themselves, connect with other people. And jiu-jitsu is a fucking awesome sport for that. And the camaraderie you get, the life lessons you get constantly. You're put in these fucked up positions, and you have to be calm, and you can't freak out. And you're a white belt, blue belt, you still freak out occasionally.
Nah, I'm calm.
Yeah,
I'm
look at you.
calm. I'm
I'm
calm.
calm. I'm cool. I never freak out. Okay.
Not not never, but like man, I'm calm. I meditate twice a day too.
That's
Like
good.
I love what you're saying, man, because
Cool.
I'm big on that, man. I'm big on like always improving
Yeah.
and like if you're not evolving and expanding, then you're moving backwards. So you need to like I'm always in one of these books and
He's got some great books here, you guys.
pushing it on my family or my friends and like
Yeah.
because they'll tell me I'm like, well, have you read this book, because that helped me with
Yeah.
that situation. And it's just this side's my roommate side, which is all
Oh,
like
sorry, I was gonna say that sounds way different. The right bookshelf is really some awesome books.
thanks, man. Yeah, he's all into history and he's an attorney and stuff, so very different type of stuff he's
Yeah.
into, but smart guy.
Smart and good books still.
Yeah, he loves Churchill, obviously.
Yeah.
You mentioned therapy too. What do you think about therapy? Because I know your generation.
Doesn't do it.
Yeah, and it was kind of like a taboo thing, and only like crazy people went to therapy, and like I don't know.
Yeah. My sister, I have one sister and one brother that's alive still, and he doesn't go. He needs it bad. He's a fucking basket case.
Have you been to therapy?
Like once or twice in my life. I
So mostly the mentors have.
Mentors are my therapy. Jiu-jitsu was my therapy. Pain was my therapy. Well, once I came to the realization that nobody's helping you here. You must figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can freak out all you want, but if you don't come to terms with the situation, it's not leaving.
Yeah, and develop a plan of
Right.
attack and
so
put it
that's
into
a
place.
therapy, 100%. And a therapist, like a coach of any type, is hopefully what I always say to people is, I'm going to take you close to the razor's edge. I don't want to take you over the razor's edge,
Mm-hmm.
because I want to challenge you to your utmost. And what does jiu-jitsu do every time you're rolling with somebody? A lot of times people talk shit about jiu-jitsu in ways because if you see a match, competitors will give a kiss on the cheek after they're done. I don't know if you compete,
I've
but
competed.
here in America, I don't know if the last time I competed, guys didn't do that, but
No.
I competed in Brazil a lot. Everybody kiss on the cheeks after you're done. I always thought, I'm American, I'm not doing that. But then I was training this guy who's a Buddhist monk. He actually trained with me, isn't that?
Jiu-jitsu?
No, movement. It's sort of weird. I was like, okay, this guy, and real cool dude. So I was training one of my students to fight in MMA. And he went up, he had a big fight up at the Target Center in Minneapolis, 20,000 people.
That's a big fight.
Yeah, he was undefeated. He was 45-0 as an amateur.
Wow.
And so, badass. Built exactly like Bruce Lee, a Peruvian kid named Carlos.
Wow.
Armin Kunke.
I did
Badass.
Jeet Kune Do for a few years.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Bruce Lee. And
Bruce
he
Lee
was
was-
like the first MMA guy, really.
Yeah, 100%. So Josh was the dude's name, was the Buddhist dude. So he taught me a great lesson in that we were all getting ready. We were all getting in the cars, getting ready to drive up to Minneapolis from Madison, 5-hour drive. And Josh goes, "Where are you guys going?" And I was like, "Oh, Carlos has his first pro fight tonight up in Minnesota. So we're all leaving." And he goes, "Really? That sounds interesting." And I'm like, it's pretty violent. It's going to be violent.
Because they're all like peaceful pacifists,
He's
right?
super passive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like the Pillsbury Doughboy, super like peaceful and soft guy. And so he goes, "Do you mind if I come along?" And I was like, "Josh, this is going to be violent. I'm just going to tell you, there's going to be blood, broken bones. It's going to be violent." And he goes, "That's okay." And I was like, "Okay, you can come along. Okay, no problem." So Carlos breaks this guy's arm backwards,
Jesus.
bad, like about a 45-degree bend backwards, his elbow in 27 seconds.
Like a compound fracture?
They popped it at the elbow. So Carlos was so fast. He did the arm bar so hard, him and the guy were both airborne. There's a picture of him, and both of them are off the barn, off the ground, off the mat, and the arm is already broke in the
Wow.
elbow. It was bending backwards already. And the guy couldn't have tapped fast enough. So that was violent. And then there's this woman's fight, violent. Then there's this other men's fight, violent. There's blood, teeth flying all over. And so overall, like I've seen a lot of fights, and I was like, okay, it was pretty violent evening of fights, a little more than usual. And so I see we're getting everybody to go back home afterwards, and Josh comes up to me, and I go, hey, Josh, so what do you think? He goes, I have to say, and I'm getting ready for him to say, that was one of the most violent things I've ever seen in my life, right? And he goes, I have to say, without question, that was the greatest display of love that I've ever seen. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And he goes, well, why do you push me so hard? I was like, because I love you and I want the best for you. And he goes, right. And he goes, every match, these two people are trying to kill each other. They're pushing them. And in life, he goes, we rarely have opportunity like this. Rarely. Like I look at it like in working out, you can, if you challenge yourself, have an opportunity to really see what you're made of. Do you give it your heart or do you back up and bullshit? In jiu-jitsu, if you're going against somebody in just rolling at the end of the day, people will try and catch you, put you to sleep, pop, break your arm, but you're going to tap in jiu-jitsu, so it's safe, which is the really beautiful part. But you don't want to tap, you don't want to get controlled, so you're going to fight your ass off. But that's the beauty of it. They're pushing you to your very utmost.
Yeah.
And that rarely happens in life. And when he said that to me, it hit me like crazy. Like I was like, that's fucking deep.
Yeah.
And I had never thought about how awesome jiu-jitsu is like that, and how it really, really like almost nothing else, because you can do it in a controlled environment, push another person to their very being.
Yeah. The primal being.
Yeah. And will you be cool under pressure? Make the wise decision, or are you going to freak out?
Yeah. And address one problem at a time. He's got my
Exactly.
collar. He's got, I got to get the collar first. Yeah.
Exactly. One step at a time. Be calm. Okay, broke the collar. Okay, move my hips up. Move my hips up. Breathe. Chill. All that stuff. And that's no different than life.
Yeah, man. I
Such
love
a
that you're
beautiful
saying
lesson.
that. My professor says that. And the same three components he says that will get you through jiu-jitsu, gets you through life, which he says are patience, consistency, and action.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's
For it, breathing. Also, you gotta breathe.
yeah, you gotta breathe too. That's true. Yeah, deep breaths. Yeah, man, that's
So
cool.
you repeat those again?
Patience, consistency, and action.
I like those.
Yeah,
That's a good teacher.
he's great. Yeah, he's a beast, and he started late in life, and then he's the only guy to ever get a super grand slam, which is gold in all four of the biggest IBJJFs and ADCC in the same year.
No way.
Only guy to do it. Yeah,
That's cool.
it's cool. Yeah, and then when I'll roll with his son, who's like a pro, and because I think I'm pretty good at jiu-jitsu, and then those dudes that are pros are just like another fucking
It's crazy.
league. Yeah.
Like it's so crazy. Like Hickson was my first instructor.
Wow.
Luis Claudio Augusto Gonçalves was my main instructor for many years. He teaches in Chicago now, and he was my friend. He was a purple belt, and I was a white belt when he started with Hickson, and he was 130, 135 pounds.
Wow.
I'm like 215.
Yeah, 130 is little.
It was ridiculous how he toyed with me, and he would laugh. The funny thing is, I was about to, because I didn't like getting worked in class, I was a white belt, and I went aggro all the time. For those of you that don't know, aggro is when a white belt freak goes, basically, and muscles everybody, and they have no clue what they're doing, and nobody wants to roll with them because they're a rockhead.
Yeah, and high injury rates.
Yeah, super high injury
guys.
rate. So I didn't like that. I went aggro with people, and it wasn't fun for me or them. And so I was like, I got to learn. So this dude named Bo, I got to hook up with him. He still lives out here in L.A. area. So Bo was about 235, purple belt. And he used to jack me up all the time, and I'd be pissed. I was a white belt. I thought I should do better with him, and no, just keep rolling, Johnny. And I was like, teach me something. And he's like, just keep rolling. One of those guys. He just wanted to use me as a fucking punching bag. And so one night I was like, I'm gonna ask Bo to give me privates or something. So right as about the evening's about done, I'm about to ask Bo, can I take some privates from you? Which is sort of silly. You're gonna ask the guy who's whipping your ass to give you privates. Okay, it's a weird thought, but okay, it could work.
But it's good. It's a good thought too,
Yeah,
though.
but then something happened. I was about to ask him, but Claudio goes up to Bo and goes, "Hey man, you want to roll?" And Bo goes, "Yeah, sure." Bo's 235, Luis is 135. So I'm like, oh, Bo's going to kill him because I'm naive.
And they're both purple belts,
They're
though.
both purple belts. Luis worked him like he was laughing and tapping Bo out. And I was like, my jaw dropped, my eyes popped out of my head. I was like, that's the guy I got to learn from.
That's
Because
true.
I want to catch Bo. I don't want Bo to teach me stuff that I'll never catch him. I want to beat Bo.
Yeah.
And I signed up. I was like, Luis, can I take privates from you? And he's like, yeah, sure. So he started teaching me, and we became best friends. And Bo couldn't catch me after that. It was awesome. That was such a big deal for me.
That is awesome, man.
Yeah.
What do you think of, since we're on jiu-jitsu, of like, I don't know, there's an essence of douchiness within jiu-jitsu, or outsiders might see it as douchiness, or like, what do you think about that? Where like the dude that popped your arm obviously was a douchebag, which within the culture.
Yeah. So in each academy, there's always that guy who's, in your terms, is a douchebag. I call him an asshole or an idiot.
They're synonyms.
It's a nicer cinnamon, I guess. Cinnamon, I say. Cinnamon. I can't say certain words, so synonym. Okay, so there's guys at every academy that are like that, and nobody really wants to roll with them, but you don't, it just happens sometimes. So, yeah, that's the truth of it. When I started teaching, I would always like to roll with those dudes to teach them how to roll, because what I saw happen a lot was guys aren't taught really how to roll and
calm and
be calm,
technique,
be flowing.
Yeah.
Luis would always stress that with me, and so I would always get my students, because we had this student, Junior Clark. He's still back in Madison, Wisconsin. He is a badass. He's a badass, but nobody wanted to roll with him because why? He'd junior you. Everybody he rolled with, he'd hurt. And he's built about my size, but he didn't know his own strength, and he would
go way
catch
too
you
like
with an
competition
elbow.
style.
Oh, he would. Nobody wanted to roll with him.
Yeah.
So, and he wouldn't want to roll with me because I could catch him, or I would scare him by putting him in an uncomfortable position. So he'd either be one of those guys like 8 or 80, like the Brazilian term. I don't know if you heard that, 8 or 80. Guys who, just go easy, and they wouldn't try at all.
Yeah.
But then if you were rolling really easy, here's my arm, blah, pop, pop, and they try and pop your arm, right?
Yep. Yes.
Because they're so scared, they don't want to be vulnerable. But if you give them something, they're going to try and rip your head off.
Yep.
So
I
Junior
know
was
those
like
guys.
that.
What they get like a little opening, and then all of a sudden they're at 100%, and you're like, bitch,
Exactly.
we were just fucking flowing a second
Yeah.
ago, and now
Yeah.
you're going competition style on me.
100%. So Luis actually taught me this. He said, no taps, no tapping, just roll. Roll to positions, let go. And so he would just do that with me all the time to get me to understand flow. And it dramatically helped my game. And then so when I started teaching up in Madison, when I had Junior, Junior would not roll well with me. He'd freak out or he'd go super passive. So I said, okay, no tapping. And I said, just flow. And it worked. It really helped him out quite a bit. And other people, I saw that happening where we would just roll for control. If you control a position, abandon it after about 2 or 3 seconds. Just keep moving.
Yeah.
And then other drills. The thing about those of you that do jiu-jitsu, those of you that don't do jiu-jitsu, there's so many levels to the way that you can learn. Like turning the lights off, closing your eyes, and no tapping, and just roll for control of movement. And I loved doing that with my students. Turn all the lights off and just roll. And then also, when we have, sometimes in the academy when the floor is super packed,
Mm-hmm.
don't kick anybody in the head
Right. Know where
because
you're
that can
at.
happen. Know
Yeah.
where you're at. So you have to have good situational awareness. So that means you have to control every movement really well to another degree. And that's just being mindful. Jiu-jitsu teaches you mindfulness. It teaches you respect. It teaches you patience. It
Hum-
teaches you
hum-
confidence like crazy and some
humility.
humility. Yeah, it gives you so many beautiful gifts.
I agree.
And without question, occasional pains.
Yeah, I popped my rib this year. It was one of the worst pains I've ever had. 2 weeks before Master Worlds
Oh
too,
no!
and I still competed like an idiot. But it was the first competition I didn't place in too, and I was like, I should have just. But I had already paid for everything, so I was like, ah,
Did you get hurt worse?
no. But I wasn't.
What'd you
I
learn?
lost my first match. I learned that if you're injured, don't compete. I mean, I won't. If I was that injured again, like I would just bow out. I learned that I tried everything. I did
Yeah,
NAD drip, I did vitamin drip, I did red light therapy, I did cryo, I did cold plunges, all leading up for those
yeah.
2 weeks. But I couldn't do or I didn't do jujitsu within those 2 weeks. So I learned either, but it was so painful. Even like a sneeze was hurting, and
Oh
then
yeah, you probably should have chilled.
yeah, no, it was swollen and like popped, and like it's still not. It still feels weird, but like I'm back. And the dude that took me out, yeah, yeah.
Both sides get it or what?
No, just one so far. I'm sure
Wait,
the other one. I think it's just part of it. It's gonna happen,
it
right?
is. Yeah.
And it was so like it. The dude that did it's like a beast purple belt and like passed my guard and like wasn't a spot that I've been in before and then just
Good
pop. I
knee.
was like, ah.
Yeah.
No, he's just laying on it and I felt fine until it popped.
You turn quick and
I think I turned into it,
yeah,
yeah. And
yeah.
he's good, man. He's really good. Okay, so my next part is called the douchebag daily double,
Okay.
which is one of my favorite parts where you talk about the douchiest thing that's ever happened to you and the douchiest thing you've ever done to somebody else that you're comfortable.
Oh my God. Douchiest things that ever happened to me. There's so many. Well, oh my God. So when you're talking about a douchebag, you're talking about something really mean or somebody that is just like some
It
like
could be anything.
asshole.
I think ultimately for me it's when I look back and it kind of makes me cringe of my behavior where I was like, ugh, why did I do that? That was asshole or douchey or like whatever it was. It was not in line with my values now at
Yeah.
all. And I don't know, there's maybe a bit of shame and
Oh,
guilt involved with it because of I used to be like a player womanizer
yep.
and like all these other
Yeah.
these things that I thought was cool at the time, but really it was just bad values and bad manners on my end
Yeah.
that I call douchebaggery, I guess.
Okay. I've definitely done that stuff. I've treated women terrible. I've stolen a lot of stuff in my life. And I just was, I lived a bad life to hustle to pay my way through school. And it's,
Through college?
yeah, because I moved out of the house the day after I graduated high school. And I never wanted anything from my parents after that.
Really?
So I had to make ends meet. I had to figure out how to pay my way for school. I worked full time, went to school, and as part of one of my extra jobs was an extracurricular activity of stealing as many bikes and bike parts as I could. Me and my brother Greg would do that, and we'd sell them to the bike store down the street, and they'd buy them like crazy. And like
They
the
were never
Blackbird,
like, where are you getting all these
yeah,
bikes parts?
I
They
got all
knew.
these brand new Blackburn racks for here's $20. I'd be like, cool, all right.
And they would resell them, I'm sure.
Yeah, they'd resell them, and it was like really, that was a douchebag thing to do, and I eventually got caught and in trouble. But me and him we were so stupid. We would make a game out of it. We'd be walking around all day long, and we'd if some whoever saw that bike first, if it was there that night, we'd claim it. And we'd say, "Oh, I saw that just on. Did you see that white one over there on Park Street? Oh, that's mine then. That's mine."
Yeah.
And we would go steal it that night or
Wow.
take every piece off of it. That's a complete douchebag.
At least you have like a Robin Hood side of it that you were using it to pay for your
Oh,
school.
it was a very good cause. It went towards my education.
What did you study?
uh,
Kinesiology or
yeah, this is an interesting story. So I grew up. I had learning disabilities. I struggled with
me too.
school.
ADHD big time.
Yeah, and I just never did well in school unless it was a higher level class. Then it was more specific, and I did better at learning. General classes I failed in a lot. I barely made it through Wisconsin. I think I had a 2.1 cumulative grade point, and so I was going exercise physiology
Okay.
until 1 year left, and I realized my whatever my teacher, not my teacher, but the person, that chancellor or whatever that coaches you or professor, not
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Professor.
They told me you're not graduating with this. So the only thing you can get a degree in and get out, because I graduated in 3.5 years, is communication arts.
Oh God.
So the last year I switched to com arts and I graduated in 3.5 years from Wisconsin.
Well, it sounds like you did more with it than
Yeah,
most people that leave with that degree
yeah.
anyway.
I always say I I have a doctorate in street knowledge on movement. And the knowledge that I gained is 100% through a vast amount of experience and learning and eagerness and curiosity.
Hmm.
Because I taught myself a ton on movement. I would always no, because I didn't have a lot of coach. I didn't have any jumping coach. I didn't have any speed coach, but I figured out how to do both very well. And that's and that carried over into me being a strength coach. I had to figure and test, see what worked, see what didn't.
Hmm. And then how did you use that to land these incredible jobs like the Clippers
Oh
strength
yeah.
coach?
So I moved out here. I was young, 25, 24 or something, and I got a job with this trainer named Todd Person, and he's still a trainer here in LA. And a little guy, and he got me an opportunity to work with some pro athletes. Now, the first pro athlete that he gave me was a guy he didn't want to train because he was a cocaine addict.
Wow.
He was an insane athlete. His name is
Hmm.
Grant Gondrzik, and Grant passed away a few years back, actually. He had a rough life. He was,
Heart failure?
yeah, I think he did. Did you hear about him?
No, but cocaine. If you're a abuser of cocaine, it tends to affect the heart pretty badly,
Oh, wow.
and they say irreversible damage if you abuse
Wow.
cocaine too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, and he was in the biggest drug bust in NBA history in one of his first years. He was doing triple doubles and stuff. He was sick. Awesome player, but he messed up real bad. And so he actually moved in with me. I trained him twice
Wow.
a day, and he went from about 30% body fat, couldn't barely run up and down the court because his knees were so bad, to about 6% body fat. He was dunking and moving like a gazelle. He was feeling fantastic, and he got back into playing pro basketball. He had to go overseas because the NBA banned him pretty much, and he had a lengthy career overseas.
Wow.
And he was my stepping stone. The Clippers, who he was on for a minute, they were like, "What the hell are you doing?" When he would go to runs at UCLA, and he goes, "I'm training with that dude right over there," because I would go with him and I'd go watch. And
That's good you supported him like that too.
yeah, yeah, and so he hooked me up with Charles Smith. I worked Charles out. They liked it, and so they signed me and Todd onto working with the Clippers. Although it was me, because Todd went, I think, once just to show up and say hi. But I was doing the practices every day, and it was cool. And I got to do that for a little while and get my foot in the door working with some really awesome pro athletes, basketball players. I love that. So it was a fantastic experience.
That's
That's
sick, man. Um, Okay, what was the douchiest thing that somebody's done to you that you're open to sharing?
Yeah. This has a quasi funny end. So this guy, his name was Josh, also, which is crazy. The Buddha guy was Josh. This guy was a member of my gym, and this is
Jiu-jitsu or regular gym?
I had both.
Okay.
This is the first gym like that, I think. One of the first gyms like that in the country. I didn't have any machines, no mirrors, no shoes. We trained barefoot. Uh, Opened it in 1999,
Wow.
and
That's a bold move right before Y2K.
yeah, it was dope. It was a dope place, and so everything was movement based, and the two fed each other really well, jiu-jitsu and movement workouts and stuff. So I was training, my gym blew up. I was in all these national magazines. Gym was ranked top 10 gym in the country, and it was blowing up. And this right when people started getting killed around me, when I told you 7 people got killed,
Hmm.
I had been developing a blueprint of opening another gym on the west side of Madison. And this guy named Josh says, "Hey, I would love to help you in your growth because your gym's blowing up, blah, 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 and I want to help you out." And one thing that I had made a mistake on in life was I didn't read people well enough. I
Hmm.
knew this guy was a douchebag, but I was so wanting some help to grow the gym because I was getting all this national notoriety. The gym was packed. I mean, every class was packed to the nth degree, and it was blowing up, and I didn't know how to grow it.
Yeah,
And so
scale it.
yeah, to scale it. And so he said he would help me with that. I'm going to need all your profit loss statements. I'm going to need everything. I showed him the blueprints of the place on the west side I was going to open up. And right at this time, my brother's killed. And I, I called the people and I said, I can't follow through with this west side location place. And they said, "Oh, that's okay. Somebody's actually already waiting in the wings and they're ready to go." And I was like, "Okay." It was him.
Oh,
He had taken my blueprints, taken my profit loss statements, taken my class. I gave him everything on how to teach a class because I was teaching courses on how to teach, all the levels of teaching, each of the classes, the programming, everything. He took every aspect of it. So I didn't know this. And then months later, one of my students comes up and said, "Hey, John, I thought you weren't going to open a gym on the west side." And I was like, "I'm not." And they go, "Well, there's a gym opening up that looks just like your gym. It's called Orange Shoe Gym." And I was like, "What?" And then immediately I remember this motherfucker, Josh. He had all my info. He used to wear orange shoes that were neon orange to class all the time. And he'd always be, you know what? You know when you meet somebody and you're like, that motherfucker is sneaky. Because he'd always
yeah.
be whispering, behind my back. And I was like, looking back on it, I'd be like, yeah, he's a motherfucker that,
It's a weasel.
yeah, please, please, please get on the jiu-jitsu mat. Please let me roll with you. Please talk shit to me.
Yeah.
Like that type of dude where you want to mess them up
Oh, yeah.
and be a serious douchebag back to them. So,
It's a life test.
yes, it is. So at the time, I wasn't ready for the situation. So I was
That's a shitty
upset.
situation,
Oh,
man.
it was shitty, and I was my boy Carlos, the Peruvian kid I trained. He said, "Johnny, that guy's fucking asshole." He goes, "If he's back home in Peru, he's fucking dead." And I'm taking my thumb and I'm pulling it across my neck right now, making that knife the guy across the neck movement. And he goes, "He's fucking dead if he's back home doing this shit." And I was like, "Man, I know some boys I grew up with, and they could fuck him up." But I said, this is one time like I never talked to my dad about anything. And I said, "Dad, I want to fucking hurt this dude bad." And he said, "Johnny, let him go. You got to let it go. Because if you touch him, he's gonna try everything he can to put you away. And you're with your physical skills, because my dad was a pro boxer, so I know how to stand up fight really well. I learned jiu-jitsu. I can ground fight really well.
Yeah.
I can fuck somebody up, and I wanted to catch him, break all his arms and limbs, and leave him. That's what was going through my mind, which
Of
is
course.
which is fucked up.
Well, it's a normal thought to
Yeah,
have with what he did to you, in my opinion.
yeah. And so at the time, my fiance, at the time we were having a hard time. We just lost a baby,
Fuck, man, I'm
and
sorry.
yeah, that was part of that 7 period, and it was brutal. And so we got in an argument, and I said, I'm going for a walk. So I go for a walk, and I'm walking down the street, State Street in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm walking down the street, and I'm steaming. I'm just fucking having a hard time. And my girlfriend and I were having a hard time, and a baby and everything. Life, I was steaming. Guess who I see walking down the street right at me?
Orange shoes guy.
Fucking Josh, yeah. And so he walks, and you could see the fear in his eyes immediately when I see this motherfucker. And I'm like I'm like a lion seeing a gazelle. I'm like, oh, I want to fucking kill this dude.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, calm down, calm down. And this dude doesn't know where to go, because I assume he was trying to get into his place that was past me, because we were walking right at each other. So I walk up to him, and I'm about to land him, and he goes, oh, hey, John, how you doing? I'm like, how you doing? Fuck you, you fucking punk. You stole everything. He goes, what? And he tries to act completely innocent.
Yeah.
I was like, you are a piece of shit. And he goes, no, you don't understand. And he's trying to backwards pedal out of the situation. So there's nobody on the street in front of this bar. It's sort of empty. So he walks into this bar. I follow him. And
He's flighting, fight or flight, and he's out of there.
yeah, he didn't want any part of it. And so he goes into the bar.
He knows what he did too, man.
He knew. He was a piece of shit. He knew what he did. And so I follow him in the bar, and I want everybody to know he's a piece of shit. So he goes, hey, don't get so mad. I was like, fuck you, you fucking thief. I was like, you stole my business plan. You stole my programming plan. You stole my blueprints. You fucking do all of this behind my back, you piece of shit. And I'm fucking cussing at him like crazy. And so I wanted everybody to know. And he goes, well, I didn't, you're not understanding it, we're still friends, right? And he's trying to say whatever he can. And my girlfriend, who is now my wife.
Now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so, actually, I got sort of screwed up. The baby part was earlier, just in the year. And then I had met this beautiful young lady, and we had gotten along over the summer after a lot of that shit with my previous. Her name is Jessica, and she's my wife. She's the bomb.
That's awesome.
She's awesome.
So you guys found each other.
Yeah. But we were having a rough patch, and so I'm in there, and Jessica's mom is in the bar.
No way.
She's sitting in the bar having a glass of wine.
And you guys know each other.
So yeah, I know her.
Yeah.
So I'm steaming, and it seems like in the room I'm about to kill this dude.
Yeah.
And just so you guys know, I'm 6'2", 220, 220-ish, around there.
How big is Josh? He's
Josh
a little guy.
is probably 5'11", 6 feet,
not
about
small.
175 pounds.
Okay.
But
Lanky.
I'm raging I was begging, please punch me, please do something. So
He's not.
And I knew he won. So he just kept backing up, trying to back out of it, trying to do anything he could to not be accountable for what he did to me. Jesse's mom comes up and puts her hand on my shoulder and said, Johnny, don't. And he then said something like, yeah, Johnny, like, it's just, It's no big deal. And I lost it. So I mushed him. So, do you know what mushing is?
I don't know.
Mushing's when you've seen people do it when they palm somebody's face like
Oh
a
yeah.
basketball and shove him. And so I put my hand on his face. I said, "You fucking punk. You are so lucky I didn't fucking kill you." And I mushed him. And then I walk out, and they had a bronze door that encased a steel door. And I fucking punched it and put a dent in it, and I broke my knuckle. and and I walk home. By the time I get there, the cops are waiting for me at home. He wanted to charge me with
Assault
assault,
for that?
and he said I punched him and threatened to kill him. And the cops who were there to arrest me, and he wanted a full felony charge.
What a bitch.
Yeah, complete bitch. And so I explained the situation, and they were like, you're John Hinds. You're the guy who owns the Monkey Bar Gym, right? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, I've heard nothing but great things about you.
Oh,
You're a
man.
fucking stand-up guy. All we've heard about this Josh dude is he's a fucking piece of shit. And that's what the cops said to me. And they go, buddy, he wants to put you away forever. He wants to bury you. And he goes, but we all know you're a good dude. And what you said matched all the people there's words. You didn't say, I'm going to kill you. You said, I could kill you for what you did, but I'm not. And you never literally said that. And he said you punched him. Everybody there said you mushed him, put your hand on his face, and just shoved him. And you left it. And so he really tried to. And that guy, that's 110% a douchebag. He was.
Oh yeah,
He's
he's
a
like
bitch.
a piece
He's
of
a
shit.
punk, and I still look at it like rough lesson. The lesson was pay attention to who you hire. Pay attention to who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Because and I make this analogy sometimes. Sometimes you're so desperate to dance, you'll dance with anyone. And I was desperate. And I hired a dude that I didn't pay attention to my heart on it. And my gut said, this is a guy's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't listen, and I learned a very hard lesson.
Damn. And what happened with the Orange Shoes gym? Because I could guess that it went under because this dude just bad values.
I don't
bad.
know, but I know he opened like 2 or 3 of them. And he had them a couple in town in Madison. And I had to just work on letting it go because I've
Good,
had to
man.
do that with other things, and otherwise it kills you.
Yeah, it's the best move, and it's the toughest, and I've had to do that as well.
Yeah.
And also forgive the person for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't get that feeling in my chest, that deep anger, rage of like,
Yeah.
and it just consumes your mind, and like I'm the one suffering from that, not them. They're not even
don't care.
fucking thinking about it. Yeah.
They don't care at all.
Yeah.
100% agree with that. I look back on it now and just say, you got to be more aware of people you associate with.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson I mean, we all can look back at it, but the sooner you learn that, the sooner. This actually leads into one of the things that I talk about a lot. I used books as what surrounded me.
Yeah.
I worked with Tony Robbins for a while. I coached him on movement.
We have the same birthday.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
That's
Which-
a
what-
powerful birthday.
You know the birthday?
It's a powerful birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some cool people born on your birthday. That's
Yeah, it's
very
the
cool.
rarest birthday in the world.
Yeah, it's super rare.
Yeah. We have a birthday next year.
Yeah.
I'm turning 9 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the rarest. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's so cool you work with him, man.
Yeah,
He's like,
I did for a while, and he said, "You know what power is, John?" And I said, "Yeah, it's speed plus strength." And he goes, "No, no." 'Cause I gave him the strength
The
coach
science.
answer. Yeah, the scientific answer. And he goes, "No, no, no." And I said, "So what is it?" Because I just wanted to hear his answer. And he goes, "It's proximity to." So then I thought about it. I was like, power is proximity to power. Well, isn't obesity proximity to obesity? Isn't laziness? Isn't being an asshole or a douchebag or Can't you look at everything in life? It's what you surround yourself with, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I didn't think about it in those ways, but yeah, it's the same thing. And I was like, and so I used books, as I mentioned earlier on. I've used other people. Roger was a mentor. Bruce Lee, then figuratively just visualizing him. So I do these all the time. So then I just thought of recently, I was like, what's my starting five? What would my starting five be of my influencers in my life?
Yeah.
And then you could make it up of real people, people that have passed, books,
Yeah.
whomever. And that's where you can get an amazing group of people to surround yourself with. And that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
So I love having people do that. All my clients do that.
They're starting five.
I love to ask them, what's your starting five? And make it good. Make it real big influencers in your life.
Yeah. That's
Something
really
fun
good
to think about.
Yeah, man. Well, cool, dude. Thank you for doing my podcast.
Man, thank you for having me.
I really enjoyed this episode, and
Cool.
yeah, dude, I resonate with a lot you said because I've changed my life with those books. It sound like very different upbringings and different traumas with my parents than your parents, but those in a way were my mentors and parents, and
100%.
and my values came from one of those books up there that had one of the best exercises for values I've ever which was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Awesome book.
Yeah, where you visualize the funeral and you look in the casket, who it's you, and what is everyone saying about you.
Yeah.
Begin with the end in mind is that chapter, and
Yeah.
that was so, I still read those every day, my values. And
Yeah.
man. Do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh, yeah. I coach people. I love speaking on it. And you can contact me at my website, monkeybargym.com.
Cool.
We have Instagram, which I do once in a great while. The Monkey Bar Gym.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, fuck yeah. Thank you for doing the pod, dude.
Thank you for having me.
This was cool.
This is real fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah.